All right, Miss Campbell, you're all set to start, all right?
Okay, thank you. So is it that it's completely live on YouTube now? Will I be seeing the students come into the session or anything? Is it just YouTube or will they be coming into the session?
All right.
Good morning, students. For those of you that are here already, my name is Miss Campbell. All right, so I'm sending out a document to the YouTube link so that you guys will be able to follow along. Today we'll be doing the 2018 June paper 1. All right, students, so the plan for this class is I want us to do as many questions as possible. And as such, I would like for you guys to I'm giving you a couple minutes. I want to do it, if we could do it every 20 questions. I want us to do from questions 1 to question 40. In order to do so, I need to give you a little bit of time and then we can go through. So for the first 20 questions, I'm going to give you about 30 minutes, then we go through it together, and then we move on to the other set. Understood? Okay, so the link was sent out in the YouTube chat. So can you guys please go ahead and open it? You have 30 minutes to complete this first set. All right, so number 1 to 20. In total for this class, we're doing 1 to 40. All right, students, best of luck. All right, students. So I wanted you guys to get time to do it, but I'm seeing the comments where some of you are not, some people are just joining and they don't understand what's happening. So I'm just gonna do a run through rather than give you guys time to do it and so forth. All right, so starting off. Each sentence in this section has either one or two words missing. Choose from the four options the word or pair of words which best completes the meaning of the sentence. Mark your answer, in your book, wherever you can. All right, so despite his short temper, his willingness to give of his wealth to help others to succeed led people to call him. And right here, we would choose the answer benevolent. So that is C, because the meaning of this word is kind. To complete this section, students, you just have to read. That's why we encourage you to read as much as possible so that you can know different words. Because in the exam, you will not have your dictionary. So you will not have your dictionary. However, if you should look up the meaning of these words, that is how you will be able to decide, okay, this is the answer for here and so forth. But the answer for one is C. Number two, when parents display a blank for one child, the others are likely to feel blank. The answer here is also the answer here is also C. So when parents display a preference for one child, the others are likely to feel jealous. Number three, an attack on someone when that person is most vulnerable may be blank, but is always blank. So an attack on someone when that person is most vulnerable may be effective, but it is always unkind. So the answer right for number three is D as in dog. Number four, while the committee members blank insults across the floor, the chairman tried in vain to blank order. So for number four, the best one here, before I even answer it, I want you guys to give me some comments. So I'm waiting on your comments. Somebody try and answer number four. Let me see who gets it. All right. Okay. So for those of you who answered A, you are correct. Number four is A. While the committee members hurled insults across the floor, the chairman tried in vain to restore order. Number five, to conceal his true activities, the spy quickly blank a plausible excuse for his presence there. So the answer is fabricated. So he made up an answer. So the answer for number five is A. All right, moving on, students. So number 6 to 10. Choose the word or phrase that is most nearly opposite in meaning to the underlined word or words. So right here, we're doing antonyms. So we know antonyms have to do with opposites. Number 6, he was eager to share the news with his friends. The opposite of the word eager of the options right here, we would have chosen the word reluctant, which is B. So 6 is B, reluctant. Many parents and even some teenagers do not approve of the amount of permissiveness in today's society. So number 7, the answer for number 7 right here, we would choose A, restrictiveness. 7 is A. Number 8, every effort was made to avert the chance of failure. So for the word avert, we know that the word avert means to avoid. That is what it means. Avert means to avoid. So just as how I mentioned to you in the previous section, it's just about reading and knowing the words and so forth. And you will not have your dictionary. So you just have to kind of use context clues. So every effort was made to avoid the chance of failure. The opposite of the word avert, of the options right here, we would choose ensure, right? So the answer for 8 is A. Number 9, the president of the Students' Association never mentioned the treasurer's integrity. And integrity means honesty. So the opposite of integrity of the options here, we would choose dishonesty. So the answer for number 9 is D, dishonesty. Number 10, she seems to be sensitive to the feelings of others. The answer right here that we would have chosen would have been unaffected by. So B, she was unaffected by the feelings of others. All right, moving on, scrolling down. So number 11. So revise each of the following sentences. Let me just scroll up so you can read the instructions. Revise each of the following sentences according to the directions that follow it. Do not change the meaning of the original sentence. You're looking at the options from A to D for the word or phrase that best suits your revised sentence. All right? So basically, you're keeping the meaning of the sentence, but you're just changing up the wording, okay? Number 11 says, people from crowded nations cannot get over the accessibility of Canada's natural environment in all its magnificence. Begin the sentence with, it is impossible for. So first and foremost, you have to make your sentence, create the sentence, right? The sentence that you'll be using, then you can get your answer. So for number 11, we would have said, it is impossible for people in crowded nations to get over the, and so forth. So right there now, you would have seen that your answer is B, to get over the accessibility. Understood? All right. So the answer for number 11 is B. Number 12, if Charlie invites me, I will go to his party. So you have to maintain the tense as well, right? So right here we have the future tense. So it's, if Charlie invites me, I will go to his party. We have to maintain the tense. So begin the sentence with, were Charlie to invite me. So right here, you would have to choose A as your answer. I would go. So were Charlie to invite me to his party, I would go, because you have to maintain the tense. 12 is A. Number 13. More is experienced in one day of the life of a learned man than an ignorant man experiences in his whole lifetime. Begin the sentence with a learned man. So for this one, number 13, you would say, a learned man experiences more in one day than a fool's whole lifetime. So the answer for number 13 is C. 13 is C. Moving on. Number 14. She found, even after she had made several attempts to regulate the sprinkler, that the water was still reaching the furniture on the veranda. Begin the sentence with having made. So right here, we would have chosen A, because your sentence would have been, having made attempts to regulate the sprinkler, she found that water was still reaching the furniture on the veranda. So that is why we chose A for 14. Number 15. The cricket match ended abruptly when many of the spectators stormed the field. Begin the sentence with many of the spectators stormed. Many of the spectators stormed the field, so the cricket match ended abruptly. So the answer for 15 is A. All right, students. So I don't want you guys to think it's only beginning the sentence. It is not. If you look at other past papers, there are many sites you can get past papers. They're all over the internet. And if you look at them, you will see that some of them tell you to replace a certain word with another word and not just begin the sentence with so and so, right? So it's not only going to be begin the sentence with this, no. All right, moving on. Number 16 to 20. Right here, some of the following sentences are unacceptable because of inappropriate grammar, idiom, or vocabulary. Some sentences are acceptable as they stand. No sentence contains more than one inappropriate element. Select the one underlined part that you feel is inappropriate and choose its corresponding letter. If the sentence is acceptable as it stands, choose D. All right, so considering the chaos you would cause if you were to resign now, I would have no choice than to refuse your request. Number 16 is C. Right here, we should have put but. I would have no choice but to refuse your request. So 16C. Number 17. You may notice that the windows of the house next to the playground looks like those of ancient English cottages. So for 17, the answer is B. Number 18. There's hardly a point or knocking as no one is not at home. So for this is number 18 right here, the answer is C. You can't have two negatives. You can't have a double negative. So we learned that two double negatives equal a positive. We don't do that here. So the answer for 18 is C. You should have just put as no one is at home. That's what we should have written, okay? So the answer for 18 is C. Number 19. Tom, the most talented of those musicians who need help, has promised to give his services free of charge for any worthwhile cause. The answer is D, no error. 20. Any disease of the bones and joints which are due to any disease of the bones and joints which are due to deficiencies in a single nutritional factor can be prevented. So for 20, the answer is A. We should have used the singular term. So we should have put is. All right, moving on. Some of the following sentences are unacceptable because they contain errors. No sentence contains more than one error. Some of the sentences are acceptable as they stand. All right, so students, this one is similar to the previous section, but it is not the same. So, A, if you choose A, that simply means the sentence is wordy, repetitive, or contains redundancies. B, B means the sentence contains a cliche or misused metaphors. C, this means the sentence is incorrect grammatically or faulty in diction. Or D, the sentence is acceptable as it stands. 21. There are many who have not considered the need to abstain from alcohol, but sobriety is truly the only option for one who wishes to engage in healthy lifestyle practices. So the answer for 21 is A. It's just a bit wordy. All right. Students, feel free to comment your answers in the chat before I say it, just to, why not? Number 22. He wanted to beg for his old job, but that ship has sailed, and he had to simply play the hand that was dealt him. For number 2, we would have chosen the answer C. The sentence is incorrect grammatically. Number 23. Rising from the throne, the crowd cheered their noble monarch as he walked solemnly forward to greet the foreign dignitaries. So for number 23, the sentence is a bit wordy. So we could have easily condensed it a bit. So for 23, the answer is A. 24. The moon shone brightly in the clear night sky, its cool light a blessing after the searing heat of day. For number 24, the sentence is acceptable. So we would have chosen D. The sentence is fine. 25. When the clerk raised his voice in protest, his boss asked him to hold his tongue since empty vessels make the most noise and are often thrown in the den to be eaten by the lions. So that was a mouthful. So number 25, we would have chosen B. The sentence contains a cliche or misused metaphors. So there are several metaphors here that were misused. So the answer for 25 is B. All right, so for number 26 to 33, we have a poem. The title of the poem is An Even Shape. Her garden looks in through my window, crisscrossed by the white lattice. Coolers they call them, but they are also hiding places for small girls' play. Her garden stands neatly round her house, travels politely onto the veranda, to sit in pots or hang leafily down from large earth-colored urns. She lives with Mama, shepherding her with her full body, the hesitant ins and outs of Mama's half-blind days, feeding her frail consciousness with edited Gleaner news and homemade chicken soup. In her home, borrowed children touch her china birds with hands, wiped clean from eating sticky cakes, each with a cherry on top, or press moist, breathless kisses round the corners of her smile. Sometimes she fills the space out with music, spreading out nostalgia through strings and flutes, old-fashioned love songs of blue moons and forever until. Shameful peeping Tom, I sit silent in my lattice, watching the even shape of her days, to catch just once a wider open door behind her steady eyes. But in her green edgy privacy, self-contained, she keeps the half-drawn shutters of her life open just so, and mocks my greed and restlessness with a calm refusal to be other than she seems. All right, scrolling down to the questions. Okay, so number 26 asks, the phrase her garden looks in line 1 is an example of. So the answer for number 26 right here, let me just scroll back up. So we don't just select answers like that when you have a passage. You read the passage, okay? Read the passage more than once. So scrolling up, we could see it said, her garden looks in through my window. Can a garden actually look? No, it cannot. So right here, we would have to choose D, personification, because the garden is not actually looking. It's just a personification. Number 27, the garden seemed crisscrossed in line 2 because the blank. Number 27, we would choose A. The garden seemed crisscrossed because the poet was looking at it through a lattice window. So you can do a quick Google search and you'll see what a lattice looks like. So that is why it looked crisscross. Number 28, which of the following phrases is meant to be taken literally? The answer is A, hiding places for small girls. Number 29, let me scroll down. So number 29, her garden stands neatly round her house, tells us that the garden which surrounded the house was well kept, right? Moving on, so we have number 30. The poet uses the words frail. The poet uses the words frail consciousness in line 14 to show that Mama blank. So for number 30, the answer would be was not understanding as well as she used to. So this could imply a bit of dementia peeking through, right? But number 31, which of the following best describes the woman's extra thoughtfulness of her mother? So C, feeding her with edited Gleaner news. Number 32, the poet uses the phrase borrowed children in line 17 to show blank. All right, so of the options right here, so when we go back to line 17, we would see that the answer has to be B, that she had no children of her own. Moving on to number, which is B, 32 is B. 33, which of the following were done by the children to show their love for the woman? All right, students, just noticing that you weren't hearing me. So number 33, which of the following were done by the children to show their love for the woman? Was it number 1, wiping their hands before touching the china bird? Was it 2, eating all the sticky cakes she made them? Or was it 3, kissing her on the side of her lips? So for number 33, it has to be C because we know that they ate all the sticky cakes and they kissed her on the side of the lips. So it has to be 33 has to be C, 2 and 3. All right, so moving on. All right, moving on, students. We know we have an extract that we need to read and answer the questions. The extract is titled The View from the Terrace. Marcus wheeled himself out of his accustomed place at the table on the terrace, and the sight struck him immediately. How could it not? It was an abomination, a desecration, a heresy, a sight unbelievable. There was a house on the hillside. His hill, the one which overlooks the village and which his terrace faced. It was a small house to be sure. He estimated it to be no more than 20 feet by 12, with one door and one window on the long side which faced him. From the distance, it was no more than a doll's house, or what a child might draw, a wooden hut similar to those which sprung up daily in the squatter settlements, which everywhere littered the hillsides, ringing the city, visible evidence of society out of control. But his hillside wasn't a squatter settlement, and no other house marred his view. His house sat on a slight rise above the village in the valley, and from there he had an uninterrupted view of the mountains on all sides. Far away, there were houses, proper ones, that is, but none close enough to mar his vision. It had never occurred to him that the hillside he gazed at every day would ever be defaced with human habitation. It was so steep and inhospitable. Few, tre- few trees grew on it except for the occasional clump of mangoes. It was mostly covered with grass, which burned every year in the dry months, and agaves, which from time to time flowered yellow. Halfway up the hill and directly in front of his favorite seat on the terrace was the only tree of any size, and this was a silk cotton tree which would one day become a giant, but would but which was still small as cotton trees go. Year after year, he watched its progress as it shed its leaves in the winter months and turned a bright green in the spring. And now, immediately behind this tree, as if sheltering in its arms, someone had built a house on his hill. It wasn't really his hill, but who else was there to claim it? Who else, who else had gazed at it 365 mornings every year for the past 12 years? So once more, the title of the poem is The View from the Terrace, and we do not know the source. So, which word best describes the homeowner's attitude towards the hillside near his house? So, someone drop your comments, please. Let me know what you think the answer is for number 34. All right, so the answer for number 34 is D, possessiveness. The mention of his hill, his hill, his hill, even though it's not his, just shows how possessive he was towards the hill. The word struck him in line 2 that the homeowner suggests that to the homeowner the sudden appearance of the squatter's house. All right, so let us go to line 2 and look at struck him. So Marcus wheels himself out of his accustomed place at the table on the terrace, and the sight struck him immediately. So for number 35 right here, of all the options right here, we know that it couldn't be A. It didn't necessarily stir disgust at the sight of nature of the home, no. It didn't awaken interest in how quickly it was built, nor did it stimulate pain because of the loss of privacy and control. Instead, it actually aroused shock at the unexpected neighbor. So right throughout the poem, we could see that he was shocked. It was just a sense of shock and possessiveness throughout the entire passage right here. So the answer for 35 is C. It aroused shock at the unexpected neighbor. All right, so scrolling down now. So number 36. The phrase sat on in line 9 tells us, so I can't necessarily scroll back up. So let me just use it right here. All right, so the phrase sat on in line 9 tells us that the house is. So we're gonna go back up to line 9. But students don't just go necessarily to the line alone, go to the entire sentence that it is in, or you will not get the correct answer. But his hillside wasn't a squatter settlement, and no other house marred his view. His house sat on a slight rise above the village in the valley, And from there, he had an uninterrupted view of the mountain on all sides. So this simply implies for Saturn that it was comfortably situated. So it was just there comfortably. Number 37. Which of the following did the homeowner believe gave him the right to claim the hill? So this one was a quite obvious one, I believe, when it mentioned in the last line, who else was there to claim it? Who else looked at it for 365 days every morning and for 12 years, right? So the answer for 37 has to be C, the length of time that he lived there. That is why he felt he had the right to claim the hill. Number 38. The word littered in line 7 highlights the owner's belief that squatters' settlements was it one, temporary, was it a blemish, or was it poorly built? So for 38, it was C. It was 2 and 3. It was a blemish and it was poorly built, right? All right, so moving on. Number 39. Which of the following best captures the homeowner's biggest fear? So it was C. The hillside would become the squatters' permanent settlement. So the reason being for this one is that, as I said, he claimed the hill as his. He basically wanted it for himself. So having somebody else there, he had that fear. That was a big fear for him. So the answer for 39 is C. The hillside would become a squatter's settlement. And he also feared that more people would come. Number 40. The repetition of his hill in lines 3 and 20 by the narrator. The answer for this one would be D. Emphasizes the passion behind his attitude. Number 41. Which words best sum up the homeowner's view of squatters' settlement? So for 41, this would have to be B. Society out of control. Because how dare him? He's gonna say society out of control, right? All right. So moving on to number 42 onwards. The oceans. The prejudiced eyes of land-bound humans, the oceans seemed like one continuous mass as homogeneous as outer space. To some extent, they are, and some marine creatures treat the whole maritime world as their oyster. Some of the great whales, for instance, lunge from the surface to the depths as a matter of course and divide their feeding and breeding between the poles and the tropics. Equally striking to the marine scientist, however, is the variousness of the oceans. Each sea embraces several or indeed many distinct environments, each of which occupies a discrete zone. Some of these zones also vary markedly with time throughout the day, with the tides and therefore with the phases of the moon by season and sometimes in cycles of several years. And superimposed on all these variations in space and time are the more erratic influences of currents and of the influx of rivers. In short, patchiness in space and time is as much a feature of the oceans as it is of land. Indeed, patchiness is a great principle in ecology, though it is rarely singled out as such. Each oceanic zone has its characteristic creatures, sometimes a huge variety of different types, and sometimes only a few. But many creatures of all kinds spend part of their lives in one kind of environment and part in another. And because there are so many different ways of making a living in the oceans and many permutations of habitats, there is a correspondingly huge variety of creatures, and many creatures take quite different forms and live in quite different ways at different stages of their lives. There are far fewer species in the oceans than on land. However, because there are no marine equivalents of the forest trees, and it is the trees that provide such a myriad of habitats for land-based creatures. So once more, the title of this is The Oceans from Colin Tudge, The Oceans, the Museum of Natural History in 1991. Okay, so what was the writer's, can anyone comment what was the writer's main purpose in the extract? So number 42, what's your answer for number 42? All right, so the answer for number 42 is A, to show that the ocean is very diverse. Number 43, the word prejudiced in line 1 is nearest in meaning to blank. 43, what would you have said the word prejudiced in line 1? What's the word that is nearest in meaning of these options here? And just to refresh your mind, the sentence read, to the prejudiced eyes of land-bound humans, the oceans seem like one continuous mass of homogeneous as outer space. So for 43, the answer is B. It was biased. Moving on. All right, so the writer says in the same sentence that I just read to you, the writer says that prejudiced eyes see the oceans as being as homogeneous as outer space. In lines 1 to 2, this description suggests that the oceans seem to be D, one continuous stretch of water. Because if we look up the meaning of the word homogeneous, it simply means it's just continuous. It's one thing. It's not several different things. It's just fluid. It's just stable, right? So one continuous stretch of water. It's one thing. The statement, some marine creatures treat the whole maritime world as their oyster, in lines 2 to 3 suggests that the creatures blank. So 45, what would you have written? All right. So for 45, we would have to put the answer D, move freely throughout the oceans. Because when somebody says the world is your oyster, it simply means you can do whatever you please, right? So move freely throughout the oceans. That's the answer for D. So 45 is D. Moving on to 46. According to the extract, patchiness in line 13 refers to a variation. So patchiness, it simply means when you patch something, you see a difference, right? It's like heterogeneous, not homogeneous anymore, it's not heterogeneous. There is probably two different patterns and so forth. So patchiness, you have several different patterns, which is why we would have to choose A as the answer. It's variation, it represents variation. 47, which of the following best describes the type of writing in the extract? Which of the following? So for 47, we would have to choose the answer C. It's informative. So right here, they're just trying to inform you, not persuade you, and not necessarily to describe much, but just to inform you on the marine life, right? Number 48. According to the extract, which of the following statements is false? So is it there are more species on land than in the ocean? Is it that there are more species in the ocean than on land? Is it C, many ocean creatures divide their time in different parts of the ocean? Or is it D, many sea creatures take different forms at different stages of their lives? So the answer for 48 is B. There are more species in the ocean than on land, because specifically it literally stated the opposite of this in one of the last couple sentences. Number 49. The clause, there are so many different ways of making a living in the ocean, in line 16 refers to, and right here, let me just scroll back to line 16. And because there are so many different ways of making a living in the oceans, so many permutations of habitats, there is a correspondingly huge variety of creatures, and many creatures take quite different forms and live in quite different ways at different stages of their lives. So for 49, we know that it has to do with the marine creatures. It's referring to the creatures in the sea, right? All right, so moving on to the next section. All right, students, so hang tight, we're almost there. Read the following advertisement carefully and then answer items 50 to 54 on the basis of what is stated or implied. Do not come and make up anything. Only answer with what was stated or implied, please. So, the tours we offer are truly unique and very much off the beaten track. We take you into the country to experience the historical, cultural, and breathtaking scenic highlights of the island. Our rich heritage in farming over the centuries has produced grand plantation mansions surrounded by picturesque little copses with stately royal palms swaying majestically in the easterly trade winds. The neat sugarcane fields sweep down the rolling hills towards the wild East Coast, where miles of untouched beaches are graced with the backdrop of rugged cliffs and the giant breakers of the Atlantic crashing ashore. At Highland Outdoor Tours, the choice is yours, whether you're the adventurous type or prefer a more laid-back tour. Just give us a call and let us advise you. The advertisement was most likely taken from a blank. So what's your answer for this one, students? Let me see those answers rolling in. All right, so the answer for 50 is C. The advertisement was most likely taken from, so it was most likely taken from a tourism brochure. What about 51? Which of the following is nearest in meaning to off the beaten track? The answer for 51 would have to be D, along routes that are not regularly traversed. All right, which of the following does the advertisement promise? So for 52, the answer would have to be D, scenic beauty, enjoyment, and adventure. So the answer is D for 52. What about 53? The phrase, the neat sugarcane fields sweep down the rolling hills in line 5 contains an example of. So we know this has to be a metaphor, right? So it's just a metaphor. It's comparing the sugarcane fields to the rolling hills right here. And 54, this advertisement seeks to persuade the reader mainly through the use of. What would you say the answer is, students? So the answer for 54 is B, imagery. And our reason for stating imagery for number 54 is really it described quite a bit. It was very, very descriptive. So that is why the answer is imagery. All right, so I'm giving you a minute to look at this advertisement because you need to look at this one for us to answer it. But please go ahead and look at it for a minute. This is our last section for this paper. So please go ahead and take a look at it. All right, students, I believe that's ample time. Okay, so read the following advertisement carefully, then answer items 55 to 60 on the basis of what is stated or implied. Do not make up anything. Join our Caribbean Miles program. You can earn Caribbean Airlines miles every flight. Plus, when you fly, drive, or shop, you will earn miles even faster. Or membership. Members who fly 20,000 miles on Caribbean Airlines within a calendar year are eligible for a silver membership. Flying 40,000 miles qualifies members for a gold membership. While flying 80,000 miles qualifies members for an executive gold membership. So please remember these key details. Do not mix up the numbers. Silver tier membership. So you get unique member credentials, a 3,000 miles bonus upon attainment of silver tier status. Preferential check-in and priority boarding on all Caribbean airline flights, waiver of date change penalty, and a redeposit fee on reward tickets. Gold tier membership. Unique member credentials, a 5,000 miles bonus upon attainment of gold tier status, preferential check-in and priority boarding on all Caribbean Airlines flights, waiver of date change penalty and redeposit fee on reward tickets, and expedited award delivery at no cost. All right, let me just zoom in down here. So destination. We have within the Caribbean or between South America and the Caribbean, you get an award of one-way upgrade, one-way economy class, or one-way business class. So the miles needed for the one-way upgrade is, you can see the numbers right there. I'm just reading out the other parts. So destination, between the Caribbean or South America and North America, you can get a one-way upgrade, a one-way economy class, or one-way business class. And between Kingston and North America, you can get a one-way economy class and a one-way business class. South America refers to Caracas, Georgetown, and let me just zoom in a bit, and Paramaribo. Thank you for flying with Caribbean Airlines. Visit us at, and they have their information right there. All right, so let us scroll down. So what does the airline promise if a person joins the miles program? So 55, what did the airline promise if a person joins the miles program? The answer for 55 would have to be D, rewards for every flight. That was one of the first things that was stated. So rewards for every flight. How many bonus miles does a silver tier member receive? So a silver tier member will receive 3,000 miles. So which of the following destinations can a person fly using 25,500 airline miles? So for number 57, we would say D. So this is North America. 57 is D, North America. If we scroll back up, we will see it listed right there. Number 58. According to the advertisement, what should a prospective member do if more detailed information is needed about the benefits of the program? So if you want more information, it would have to be B, visit the airline's webpage. So they made sure to put all their information down below. If you need more information, you go to the webpage. So 58 is B as in boy. Which technique does the advertisement use to appeal to travelers to join the miles program? So number 59, the answer is A, facts. So they used a lot of facts. So, okay, you're going to get this, you're going to get this, you're going to get this if you join, right? All right, and number 60, the main purpose of the advertisement is to encourage persons to D, become members of the miles program. That is what the main purpose is, for them to become members of the program. That way the airline will get more people and so forth. All right, students, thank you very much for those of you who came out, who sat through the live. For those of you who will watch it later, once more, remember we are here, Hudson's Tutoring Services. We really thank you for coming out to this session, and hopefully I will be seeing you guys again soon.